Hello and welcome to Canto 9 of Dante's Inferno. And so we are in the sixth circle. Now, these are the heretics, and we're going to see in Canto 10 something new in Dante. When he reaches levels that cover sins that aren't particularly temptations for Dante, I mean, everyone is a sinner, but not everybody is tempted to the same sins. And Dante, in being uh, universal and thorough, covering all of the deadly sins, he's going to cover some that are not personally a problem for him. And so he makes those personal. And so we will see people that touched his life in these in Canto 10, for example. But Canto 9, we'll go through that fairly quickly. They're still in the city of Dis. The color of the coward on my face. That is, he's blanched. He goes white with fear. When I realized my guide was turning back, made him quickly change the color of his own. Uh, this is a nice touch here. Virgil is looking at Dante. Dante goes white, and so Virgil says, "Uh-oh, there must be something wrong," and reacts in kind. He stood alert, like one who strains to hear. Now the the sense of hearing hasn't been touched on lately, but we're going to before the canto is over. There's going to be a blast of sound. Um, Dante says, "Has anyone ever before descended this far? Are we as deep as anybody other than the denizens of hell? Has anybody ever been down this deep?" And Virgil says, "Well, actually, I was called down here by the heartless witch Erichtho," line 23. Dante is taking something from the epic poet Lucan in Pharsalia. He doesn't mention Virgil being taken down into the underworld, but there's a passage where a the witch calls down a soldier into hell to get a spirit out. Then he looks up at the top of the tower and he sees line 38, three hellish furies stained with blood. The furies, again, classical goddesses, and they are, he calls them the Erinyes, which is the Greek word which means furies. That is Megara, line 46, the one there to the left, and that one raving on the right, Alecto, Tisiphone in the middle. Those are the three names of the Furies. The Furies, they're connected with hell, both in classical sources, in Aeschylus, for example. They are logical. Their logical dwelling places, the underworld, because they are their job is to hound those who have spilled kindred blood. And that's when we let loose line 64, a blast of sound. And then above the filthy swell approaching, a blast of sound shot through with fear exploded. Dante kind of prepares us in our auditory imagination for this by earlier showing Virgil straining to hear, and then suddenly this blast of sound, and we see an angel sweeping all these souls before them to a large gate. "O heaven's outcasts, despicable souls," says Virgil, line 91. "What insolence is this that breeds in you?" Um, and then we see these sepulchres, the burial places in vaults, and Dante thinks of all of the famous vaults, the famous sepulchres of Europe, and he mentions them all in line 112, and so that we can imagine this vast depository of the bodies of heretics, as at Arles. And notice that he uses the same form of the epic simile that Homer used, and then Virgil imitated it from Homer. "As at Arles, where the Rhone turns to stagnant waters, Or as at Pola, near Quaterno's Gulf, that closes Italy and bathes her confines, the sepulchres make all the land uneven. So they did here, strewn in all directions, except the graves here served a crueler purpose. So we will look at the heretics in Canto 10 then, and this is where he will meet people that he knows, people who are connected to him first through uh, through political connections. Farinata. Now, Farinata was dead before Dante was born, but he was one of the most famous warriors or soldiers of the Ghibellines, the enemies of Dante. And then he'll also meet the father of his beloved poet friend Guido Cavalcanti. Um, so uh, Farinata rises up when he hears Dante speak, because he couldn't know Dante, as we said. He died before Dante was born, so he's a blast from the past for Dante. But so he couldn't possibly know Dante, but he recognizes the Tuscan dialect. He hears Dante speak. He recognizes that accent, that dialect, and so he calls out, "O Tuscan," line 22, "walking through our flaming city," that's the city of Dis, "alive and speaking with such elegance to be kind enough to stop here for a while. Your mode of speech identifies you clearly as one whose birthplace is that noble city, with which, in my time, perhaps, I was too harsh." Now, this is a vast understatement, the technique that the Greeks call meiosis. It's almost a bitterly comic understatement, because Farinata utterly destroyed his city, or at least the Guelphs in his city, and took it over with the help of the Sienese. It was Farinata who went to Siena, got the help of the enemies, and brought them in to help him take over uh, Firenze. And then he introduces himself in line 33. "What are you doing? Turn around and look at Farinata, who has risen. You will see him from the waist up, standing straight." And so he stands up out of this coffin, out of this sepulcher. Um, and he looks, the essence of Farinata in this canto is disdain. He is such uh, a high-ranking nobleman that he has nothing but utter contempt for Dante. "And who would your ancestors be?" he asks contemptuously in line 42. "And I, who wanted only to oblige him, held nothing back but told him everything." And so, in other words, he told him that he is related to his worst enemies. "Bitter enemies of mine they were, and of my ancestors and of my party. I had to scatter them not once, but twice." Now he uses again, he uses that technique of meiosis, of understatement. He uses a polite word for exiling them, kicking them out of the city. "I had to scatter them, not once, but twice." Okay, so Dante has to get back at this. This is Dante's comeback. "They were expelled, but only to return from everywhere," I said. "Not once, but twice. And are your men, however, never mastered?" Now, Dante, because he knows what for him is the present around 1300, um, he thinks that he has the last laugh on Farinata. But Farinata, although he is from Dante's past, is in hell, and in hell he can see what would be Dante's future. And so he says, well, actually, he doesn't. Where does he say? Uh, oh shoot! Um, well, I'll go on because we go next to, we're interrupted actually. Farinata is interrupted by Guido Cavalcanti's dad. Now, Guido Cavalcanti was one of the poets of the Dolce Stil Nuovo, one of Dante's best friends. And he's weeping because he's wondering where his son is. If it be great genius that carries you along through this blind jail, where is my son? Why is he not with you? I do not come alone, I said to him. Of course, he's talking about Virgil. That one waiting over there guides me through here. The one perhaps your Guido held in scorn. Uh, Cavalcante um, didn't think much of Virgil. The place of pain assigned him, that is, he, as a heretic, and what he asked already revealed his name to me and made my pointed answer possible. Um, this is so. This is the interrupted riposte of uh, Cavalcante, lines of I'm sorry, Farinata, line 76. He merely picked up where we left off. Okay, they'd been interrupted. If that art they did not master, that is, remember Dante's retort. Dante had said, yeah, at least we came back. You guys never got the knack of coming back after you'd been kicked out. If that art they did not master, he went on, that gives me greater pain than does this bed. But the face of the queen who reigns down here, that is the moon, will glow not more than 50 times before you learn how hard it is to master such an art. That is, you personally, Dante, will be kicked out. This is the first prophecy of Dante's exile. It has not happened in the now that Dante is pretending that this poem is. Uh, um, the exile hasn't happened yet. But of course, Dante writing the poem has already been exiled, so he is predicting something that, of course, he knows has already happened. Um, we'll get more explicit prophecies of that exile later. So this intrigues Dante. Dante has now just found out about the way that the damned can see the future, and he asks Virgil to explain why is it that the damned can see only the future and not the present. Uh, Down here, this is the explanation, line 100. Down here we see like those with faulty vision who only see what is at a distance. This much the sovereign Lord grants us here. When events are close to us or when they happen, our mind is blank. And were it not for others, we would know nothing of your living state. Okay, so that's why he can bring word down from up above, things that are happening in Dante's present. Okay. Well, that takes us to the end of Canto X, Canto 10. And so we will finish up Wednesday's work in our next exciting episode. So in the meantime, God bless you, and we'll see you in Canto. What's next? 11 and 12. Okay. Bye bye.